If you're struggling to make ends meet because of the high cost of living, you are not alone. There's a lot of people struggling right now with costs just spiraling upwards and wages that are not keeping up. It's been said recently that for a family to feel secure nowadays, they need to be making $186,000 per year. That is just to feel financially secure. I hear from you guys all the time that a lot of you are really just struggling to make ends meet. We post up deals and stuff on here, and some of you are very grateful that helping you find some of those deals so that you can stretch your dollar a little further. Because in the end, we're all just trying to struggle to get through this. And the word is that this is going to get worse. That the inflation that we're seeing now is nothing compared to what we'll see later. And as you've already seen so far, that wages do not keep up with the cost increases that we're seeing for goods and for services. Prices are spiraling upwards and wages are slowly rising. We keep hearing from economists and everything like that. Well, the wages will keep up with the cost increases of everything else. And yet that's not true. Social Security does not get adjusted upwards anywhere near the way that the prices at the grocery store are. So we need to talk about that, what's going to happen, how do we get by with what's going on right now, and more. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we discuss a lot of things together, don't we? I hear a lot from you guys, from the comments and from the updates that you guys send in and the emails that you send. And I hear a lot of your stories, and it's not good news that we're hearing a lot of times out there. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't have good times in the midst of hard times. We can. We can be struggling financially and yet growing and thriving relationally, spiritually, mentally. We can be growing and flourishing even though hard times may be here. And that's one of the things that we need to keep in mind as we go forward is as hard times are here, let us keep focusing on the things that we do have control over. Let us keep being grateful for the things that we do have, the people that we have, and let us keep focusing on what is most important and working together with other people to help make ends meet. And that's why we keep talking about things like growing your own food, but then also maybe even growing more than your own food, growing enough to share. And it doesn't mean you have to grow a little bit of everything. It means maybe you grow a lot of something and then you share that with other people who are also growing stuff so that you can have a little mini economy, a tax-free economy, one might even say. Of course, you need to report all sorts of income, right, according to the IRS. But we're looking at the numbers here. A typical household now, compared to 3 years ago, is spending $1,069 more per month to buy the same things that the typical household was buying 3 years ago. Things are not moving in the right direction. That's over $13,000 more per year. And that's just from 3 years ago. And before that was even more. But it's really sped up in this last presidency, this last few years, hasn't it? Power bills are going through the roof. Many foods at the grocery store have doubled or tripled in price in just the last 3 years. If you haven't seen the inflation of the 1970s or earlier, this, like for me, is the worst I've ever seen it. The numbers that I look at in the store don't even make sense anymore. And that's part of the problem too, is that with the changing box sizes and how many ounces in each box, it's the same size box, but less ounces of whatever inside, right? And they change those those percentages, and they change the weights, and that changes the price. And we see prices either holding the same or still going up. And it makes it even harder to even figure out how much prices have gone up. And I know a lot of us are tempted to kind of just give up on it. A lot of the stores a few years ago started posting the price per ounce, and you can just tell that they regret doing that. Some of them have gone to, I find it humorous, that on one aisle you have two products to compare, right? And one is measured in price per ounce and the other is price per pound. And you're like, the whole point there is to make it transparent. But yet they've taken the thing to make it transparent and they've made it non-transparent. So it's like you literally have to sit there with your cell phone out running numbers. And I have no shame doing that. I have my cell phone out and I'm using that calculator to calculate ounces and compare products to each other. You need to save any little bit you can wherever you can, right? And I think that the temptation for us to think is that there's some greedy person doing this to us. And while that is the case, it's not the people you think. The grocery stores are really not making more money. In some cases, they're actually losing more money than they ever have. Then you look at these companies that make these food products, and are they making money? Sure. But you look at their margins and you still see that the margins haven't gotten any bigger. They're not making more money than they used to. They're just, and in a lot of cases, they're actually making less money than what they used to. They have not been hiking the price as fast as they should because of all the price hikes that they've been receiving. And this is important for us to know, that it's not on the private sector side. It's not a bunch of greedy capitalists having it out for us. And that's what the politicians tell us is what's happening. But really the reality is that it's the politicians themselves. The politicians spending money like water. They're the ones who are actually causing the problem. Just a few days ago, we heard about how President Biden granted temporary amnesty to 300,000 Haitians who were supposed to be deported. And by temporary, it's 2 years. They've been given another 2 years in the United States. These are folks that came here illegally, that don't have paperwork to stay, and they should be deported. Now, I'm not saying necessarily we should send them to Haiti, but maybe we should send them somewhere else. Maybe Haiti is too dangerous right now. But have we looked at resettling them in the Dominican Republic or another Caribbean area, maybe Mexico? Have we looked into that? No, we haven't. Of course we haven't. Because we just keep giving free handouts to anyone who happens to be anywhere near the United States. Or if you're an enemy of the United States, then we give you money to just prop up your regime like we're giving the Taliban billions and billions of dollars. And I don't know why we're giving them cash in addition to all the military equipment we gave them. Oh, well, they're doing it for humanitarian. Well, then we should be purchasing back our military equipment. I mean, at the very least, we should be getting something for it, like help them liquidate that military equipment by giving it back to us, and we give them money for humanitarian aid or something like that. But no, like everything else in the world, we give free money to everybody else, to our allies. Even the ones that hate us, chant death to America and all these kinds of things. I mean, how many billions of dollars in cash do we give to Iran? And yet they're giving missiles to the Houthis to shoot at us with. We keep giving away more and more money. It is now estimated that over half of all the food stamps money that's being distributed, the EBT, is now going to foreign-born individuals. And when you think about that, that really should blow your mind. With the 280 million native-born Americans here, and yet we still only supposedly have 30 million people from outside the country, and yet 50% of the food stamps, and probably similar with other government programs. Like Medicaid, probably similar. Where probably about 50% or more is going to foreign-born individuals now. And the child and mother programs, we got lots and lots of welfare programs out there. And we're seeing that a vastly disproportionate amount of that money is going to all these people that we've so generously allowed to come into our country and to never leave. Over half of illegal immigrants inside the country, and we call them illegal even though they have papers, okay? They have papers issued by the government that they're legally allowed to be here, and they have work papers saying that they can legally work here. They're being issued Social Security numbers. They're being issued tax identification numbers when they're not eligible for the Social Security numbers. They're supposed to be filing taxes, but don't hold your breath, folks. But over 50% of them do not have work, and yet they're somehow eating. Just take a wild guess how they're able to afford food and rent and utilities and everything else and healthcare. How are they able to afford these things? It's because our governments are giving them away for free. And then we look at our grocery store shelves and we wonder why inflation is so out of control. The simple fact is that all of our tax revenues for the entire United States can only pay for Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and other fixed programs like food stamps and others that are required by law to be where they are, and the federal interest. All of our tax revenue goes to just those things. Everything else is gravy, is borrowed money. All of it. At what point do foreigners stop lending the United States money? Well, China is dumping its U.S. government treasury debt. Other countries are doing the same. And we're going to soon find out what it was like to live in Weimar's Germany, the Weimar Republic, because inflation starts slow, and then it grows, and it grows, and then it explodes. And when it explodes, that's when you start getting paid 2 to 3 times a day. And spouses come to the place of employment, pick up the cash, go immediately to the store, and spend it, because the store is literally changing prices in real time. And they're rapidly rising. How in the world are you supposed to do business in this type of environment? If you buy something in order to resell it to someone else, you had better move quickly from point A to point B. You better move quickly from buying it to selling it, because the longer it sits in your hands, the more losses you're going to accrue. And there aren't too many ways of avoiding this. We're already neck deep in it, and it's like a ballistic missile. When the missile takes off, once the engine's cut out, it's still rising, but it can't steer anymore. It's going to go where it's going to go now, right? It's going to just land where it's going to land. And we're in that phase where the engines have shut off, or well, I guess they're still going, but it's like our trajectory is already basically set. We can't turn around. We're already moving this direction. And it's going to be far worse than the Depression. In the Depression, we didn't have this rampant inflation. We didn't have a massive government debt to deal with. And quite frankly, over 50% of the U.S. population was directly related to somebody who was full-time agriculture. And when you look at those numbers, I mean, that's pretty big. Most people were able to go back to their family farm. Most people today do not have any relations that are farmers still. You can't just move out to somebody's farm because you're not related to anybody. How are we going to move back to agriculture just to feed ourselves when less than 1% of the population is in agriculture anymore? What happens when some of those farmers have a hard time, have a hard season? Is everyone going to start growing their own food in their backyards? Probably not. Most people just have grass and stupid trees and bushes that have flowers on them. Most people do not grow food. Most people haven't the faintest idea of how to grow food. This depression that is coming, I don't know what we're going to call it, because the Great Depression is already great, right? I mean, what is this going to be, the Greater Depression? Is this going to be the way worse depression? With people losing their jobs, with prices spiking upwards, people's stored money is going to not get them through. Any savings is going to be wiped out. And then on top of that, we're going to have this inflation and this lack of employment, this government debt. And that's not even talking about the potential for World War III that is coming right around the corner any day now. What's coming is going to be an economic catastrophe. And if you're not getting ahead right now, it's going to be really, really hard. Not unsurvivable, but getting stocked up in precious metals. There's a kilo bar of silver there. Silver, gold, but more than that, silver cans. Having cans of food, having food stockpiled so that you can feed your family when it's too expensive to get it at the store. That will definitely give you a big leg up. If you have extra after getting canned foods and dried foods like beans and rice, knowing how to cheaply cook, that's a big one right there. I know that our recipes and everything like that use a lot of expensive ingredients, but do you know how to cook cheaply for your family? Do you know how to make eggs and rice and beans stretch? We may not be able to afford beef in the future. And that's the sad truth of it. But what are you doing today to get more prepared for what's about to come tomorrow? If you're watching this channel, you're probably on board. You probably understand that things are moving the wrong direction. The question is what are you doing about it? Let me know down in the comments down below what practical steps you're taking. Share them with others to be an encouragement to others and maybe give some other people ideas of what you can do. Having side businesses is a great idea. Having a side business that you can scale up and work harder at, because quite frankly, you don't have to fire you. If you have a side business, you can just work more hours for less money and still make ends meet, maybe. That's some food for thought too. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining with us today. This Saturday, if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.